Hi guys, and welcome back to Brew Over Your Made. Today we are going to be working with this very unique pallet. I just found this while I was out doing my normal pallet hunting, and it's about just under 7 feet long, quite thick, chunky boards in it. So I'm quite sure what we're going to make out of it yet, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to strip it all down, and then we're going to come up with the game plan. So stick around. Right, guys, we got all the nails out, all the pallet woods ready to go. I've came up with a little bit of a design I like. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be able to do it though, because with the amount of wood we have, the table would only be sitting roughly about 34 centimeters tall. Usually, I aim for about 45 when it comes to a coffee table. When it comes to a coffee table, so this would be a little bit of a low profile table, so I'm not going to do any work on the legs yet, and I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide if we like the design or not. And on this video, we're just going to be working on the tabletop. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to take those long boards, we're going to cut them to 5 feet long, we're going to strip them down the middle, and get working on the tabletop. So let's jump straight into that. So this is a sort of table leg design that I want to go for, really. The sort of twisting version. Obviously, after we power carve it all and stuff, it'd look a lot nicer. But this sort of twisting vibe is something that I really wanted to try for ages. There's not quite quite enough of this wood here to be able to do it. It's only going to sit like just this alone. This only sits 31 centimeters tall, and I usually aim for 45 centimeters when I'm aiming for a coffee table. So you guys let me know what you think, whether we should do this design or do a different design. But like I said, we're going to crack on with the tabletop now. Right, so we got all of these cut to 5 feet, and you might have noticed we're not going to be able to make a very wide table with these boards. So what I have done is I've messed around with the spacing on my table saw, and I have done this with the offcuts. I think this is going to be a thick enough table, and if we can cut them up, we can get 3 boards out of each of these boards, meaning, well, 3 times the length of that, which I think will be perfect for a coffee table. Now, I will say this is quite a big coffee table, and we are very much on the slimmer side of these boards. So after we do get it all glued up, we might have to make it a little bit smaller, but hopefully we can get away with it, because we still have to surface it and everything to make sure the table's nice and flat. But we're just gonna wing it and go ahead, throw ourselves right in the deep end, and hope that it works. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to strip all these boards down to roughly about 3 centimeters wide each, 30 mil, and glue it all up together. And then we're going to try build a router sled to flatten it all, and we're going to take little by little off to make sure we preserve as much thickness as possible. But let's quit rambling, let's get on the table saw, let's get these all cut up. Right, so we've gotten everything nice and squared up now. It's just laying on the table. As you can see, we've sort of gone for the book match sort of pattern here. It doesn't work on either of the sides because, well, I don't know. I don't know why I haven't managed to get equal bits of wood, but for the parts that are equal, we've managed to put them in the middle to make it look sort of nice. And what we're going to do now is we're going to glue it all up in one big slab. Then we're going to make a little router sled and flatten everything once everything's nice and dry. I'm going to try to do it in all one big run instead of cutting these up in little segments and putting it through the surface planer. So hopefully this goes well. I'm going to quit talking, we'll get in the clamps and we'll start gluing. Right, so we're done flattening, we're done with all the gluing up, we're done with all that. We have our nice flat slab and everything all ready to go. But before we start squaring the tabletop up and finishing it off and sanding it and stuff, there is an issue. So as you can tell by all these blue circles I put around, there are a lot of ugly nail holes that have came through. Some people might like this as character and stuff. Personally, I think it looks horrible, and I want to attempt to patch them. Now, I've seen this done on Blacktail Studios channel, where you basically just get a bunch of square blocks, patch it up, and it's meant to look nice. I'm particularly not a massive fan of that, but to be honest, I like the look of that better than all these nail holes. So we're going to attempt to do that. I've counted them all. We have about 26 patches to make, so it's going to be a lot of practice, and hopefully I can get these all done relatively nicely. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut out a bunch of square patches. I'm not going to bother recording it because it's just square patches. So, but I will record myself putting them in and take you through the process of that. But right now, I'm going to cut out 30 blocks that are all the same size, so I can just repeat. Hopefully, might make a little bit of a jig to make things a little bit easier. But I'm going to quit talking, and I'll come back to you once I've cut out all the patches. We've got all of our little squares cut out, and we are ready to do some inlaying. I've made a little jig. This is the little jig I use with my router. It's looking a little bit rough because I had to shim it to make the inside a bit smaller just to get a better fit. I basically just made this on the chop saw. I took one of these, they're all the same size, went around it with a razor blade and then cut it out just with the chop saw. So we're just going to get right into it. We're going to get the router, get it all out, and then we're going to come back with a chisel in these four corners and, well, chisel it out. So we have a nice square edge to be able to sink these into. I'm going to do this and we'll just see how it looks in the end. So let's get cracked on. Throw you on a time lapse and let's do it. Right, so we got the blocks in. You can see they're not absolutely perfect. They're not absolutely seamless, but I think they're pretty good for especially my skill set and doing it in pine. But I'm going to do the rest off camera because there is a lot to do. I got 26 of them in total to put in. So I'm going to try to burn through them, and I'll get back to you once I have put them all in, and we'll show you how it is. Not a massive fan of the look of it, but hey ho, it's better than a bunch of nail holes and stuff, so I'll get cracked on. Right, so it's the next day. We've got all of our inlays in. Everything's looking nice. We do have one small, well, it's not a small issue, it's quite a big issue. So I was just sanding it all down just to get a rough look at what all the inlays will look like, and also get some dust to fill up any potential gaps. And as I was sanding, I realized that the table was rocking ever so slightly. And if you can see under here, there's a bit of a gap. And I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it has slightly cupped. So as you can see, next to a straight edge, we have quite a severe cup going on. And that's very disappointing because I quite like this table, and I always knew I might run into this issue with making such a thin, big table that it would be very susceptible to cupping and twisting and all that stuff. But luckily, we don't have any twist. It's straight as an arrow. It's just the cup we're dealing with. Now, I could just put some C-channels in. I could clamp it down to the table. I could put some C-channels in, and it'll be fine. But there's two issues I'm working with here. One is that I am broke. I can't afford the 40 quid to go get some steel and make some C-channels. And also, we haven't got a lot of thickness to work with. So I think C-channels is out of the picture. I am thinking about maybe inlaying some wooden equivalent of a C-channel, clamping it down to the table, gluing them in, and hoping that it remains straight once I take it back out of the clamps. But I'm really at my wit's end thinking about ideas and stuff. I think the only option we really have is to do wooden battens to go across to keep the table straight. I'd love to hear what you guys would do down in the comments. I'm not quite sure we're going to go for this. I'm going to give myself half an hour to sit back and think. And, well, in the next clip, you'll see what I have came up with. So I have been messing around a little bit, seeing what I can do, and it turns out just one of these slats of pallet wood is enough to pull it back flat. I've got a bit of a straight edge here, but I don't know if you'll be able to tell too well on camera, but the table's back to being flat. With just one of them, obviously it's still going to be cupped on that side, but I think my idea is going to be to build up a bit of a framework on the back and then use a veneer to sort of cover it on all sides. It's not my favorite idea and better plan, but it will give us some thickness on the table, and obviously the table will remain flat. So I'm not quite sure if this is the best plan of action. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it here, post this video, and see what ideas you guys have. So please, in the comments below, help me out. Give me some ideas. Bearing in mind, like, I've literally got £4 left of my overdraft, so I am very, very broke at the minute. I can't afford to go and buy some steel and make some nice C-channels and all that stuff. I can only really use what I have in my shed. I have no shortage of wooden materials with pallets and stuff like that. So that framework is the only idea I can come up with. But I'd love to hear what you guys would think. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you've made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers now, and once I hit 1,000, that means I'll be able to monetize the channel and actually start earning a bit of money off of this. So that would be a great help if you could subscribe, and hopefully we can make this a really nice table. I'm not ready to scrap this tabletop yet, so yeah, we'll see you in the next one. And like I say, please leave your comments down in the description below. Down in the description below. What the hell am I talking about? You know what I mean. Please leave a comment with some advice, and I'll see you lot next episode.